What's going on, beautiful souls? I'm recording at night. I know you can barely see me. I'm right here. So, tonight I want to go all the way back. Like my first podcast, I want to talk about trauma. And I want to talk about how many of us actually go through trauma, childhood trauma, and it still lingers with us as adults. And probably how many souls truly need therapy, someone to talk to. The world just think whatever of us. Some of us actually still were able to get through and make it and be able to talk about the things that hurt us, the things that harmed us, the things that changed us. Finally being able to take back control of our own lives. And shout out to the ones that have, and shout out to the ones that are struggling and feel this and feel what I'm talking about. But I had more than one kind of traumatic event. I believe they call them like ACEs. They're just different forms of trauma that can happen to a child that will definitely affect them in multiple ways. And for me, I had the abusive trauma, and I had the verbally abusive, the physically abusive. And, you can toss neglect in there. A lot of what I went through, it traveled into my adulthood. I noticed it, when I was a young teen, and how I was able to, and my not so adequate problem solving skills, trauma bonded relationships, and in and out of debates. And that, as a man, you don't really need to be going back and forth with people, with women. The communication should be better than that, and my communication was not. I did a lot of shutting down. I did a lot of talking when I felt like it. I mean, that's the thing is, I still do, but it's with specific things. I don't really get into debates with people, like, in this day and age. But that's still, I see the growth in that particular department and in some of the other ones. But I noticed, like, a lot of the childhood trauma, you can go through this feeling of, it'll be. So I remember I said it before in like an old podcast. I think I gotta put it up. I just can't remember which one it was. 'Cause there's so many of them now. But I was talking about how when you get hit with childhood trauma, right? At whatever age it happens, they say you tend to stay at that age as far as like mentality, depending on what age you're hurt. If it stays unhealed, you can end up literally staying in your lower. So the age will also be correlated with with your chakras, and so we're supposed to gradually lay down foundations of each chakra as we get older, like stepping stones, kind of just like how our age and kind of how our brain works, how we start developing better motor skills the older we get, and thinking and being able to do stuff for ourselves. We start grasping onto that as we get older, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, you know what I mean? So that's also how our chakras work. So we're supposed to be laying down foundations of groundedness and stability and mindfulness and all these things, they could be related to a chakra. So they say when you get hurt, depending on what age, you can get stuck in that chakra, which is extremely powerful. I don't know if you get what I mean. I don't really know who's listening, so I feel like I'm kind of just talking to myself. But I feel like that's very, that's interesting. Like, it made me want to do more research on it. So it's like, that's why they say some people can still act like a child, or, there's some men on YouTube that'll say, like, like you're acting like a fucking 8, 9, 10-year-old. And the crazy thing is, when people say that, sometimes that's exactly where they're stuck at. Like, they're acting 12 because they're stuck in a they're a 12-year-old in a 30-year-old body or 25-year-old body. They're stuck, and they have yet to deal with that trauma. So it's going to keep popping back up. It's going to keep coming back around. I said that in a couple different podcasts, that specific thing. But if you never heal these particular, traumas, and that's what I'm saying, most of us definitely need, like, a therapist. Definitely for me, I dealt with I dealt with the lack of trusting individuals as a child. I lost a lot of faith in adults as a kid, from the trauma. That's when I wasn't good with authority. Talk back, not to my parents, but to other adults. Not to necessarily my mom, but to other adults. I was definitely, like, a little bit hypersensitive. I was aggressive, and that's when I ended up needing, I ended up going to the truancy center. If you don't know what the truancy center is, you sit there and you do schoolwork, and you can't talk. That's when you sitting there all day, just like you was at school. So that's when my anger issues got so bad that I needed counseling at school. So they used to take me out of class and put me in counseling. A lot of those years I was really going crazy for my dad, and I really wasn't able to have him at that time. But I definitely felt like that was like a cry for help, and it wasn't really anything that I can necessarily do about it. And that's the beautiful thing about being able to dig through some of this stuff, because you know what I mean. Listen, like, you can comfort your inner child. You can cry with your inner child. You know what I mean. Feel that pain, and or comfort yourself in that pain. Now you're an adult. Now you can be better. So it's like, what I mean, it's a lot of stuff that I went through that I have to make sure that I don't, spill over to my kids. So, the one of the big ones is creating a stability. I had a big issue with that as a kid, and traveled into my adulthood not knowing what I really wanted to do with myself. Kind of being in limbo. The crazy thing is, what I was supposed to talk about tonight, it was one of the main things, was one of the biggest, I would say, the biggest mistakes I made. And I just felt like it was because I didn't have, that male guidance. But I slipped into the dark hole. I slipped into the black hole a little too fast. And I know I'm using keywords, or not keywords. I know I'm using code words right now. But, my dad told me, once you dip into that black hole, it's going to be hard to pull yourself out. So, black hole meaning, the fruit of a woman. So, that's one of them situations where, you feel like, I should have stayed in the kid's place, but, that's old news. That's something. I got 2 kids now, so but it's just man, like as a young man, that's probably the one thing that'll set you back. And I gotta find it, but that's some like a part of those things that men should definitely do and not do. And that's what I'm saying. And one of them, in one of the videos I had posted, I think on my Facebook, the guy was like, "Don't date." And that's what I'll definitely, agree to that one. I say don't date until you like 25. Like, you know what I mean? That's like, the same things that we was probably telling that they was telling their daughters to do and still wasn't listening. I probably still tell my son, like, think the same way. Like, don't go out here looking for no girlfriend. Now, that's not to say that don't make connections, but I say definitely stay living by God's word. And a lot of that is hard because it's just like, you know what I mean? Your kids going to do what they see. It's monkey see, not, it's monkey see, monkey do. I'm going to do, I'm going to do exactly what my parents do, or, or if you had like, alcoholism in your family, depending on who you are, you tended to stay away from a lot of that stuff. Funny thing is, my father been smoking since he was been a kid, so it's like, for me, keep me calm and keep me chilling. And but you know what I mean. But then I have to learn, even with kids, even with a lot, work schedule. So I'm like, kind of feel like you pampering yourself a little bit, but at the same time, it I said it before, it can become a crutch if you don't know how to still get your work done. If you don't know how to still be creative without the blunt. That's what I'm saying. Eventually, you just gonna be smoking, and you gonna be like, you gonna be like, what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? I can't even remember his name right now. Shit. That's what, but I listen to his music, but I can't remember his name. But he'll be like, bro, I'm only high when I got the blunt in my hand. I don't pass my shit. Because once I pass it, I ain't high no more. Oh, man. Who was that? Talking to my best friend. Dead friends. I can't remember his name right now. He definitely said it. It was just like, bro, I ain't high unless I got the blunt in my hand. And that's what I mean. You don't really want to get to that point. You don't really want to. You don't really want to be counting on. I mean, it's cool, but that's what I'm saying. That I feel like it's an investment, just like if you were to buy shoes or clothes. Unless you could buy them things 3 times over, you shouldn't be buying it. But that was just a quick talk. But it can get kind of serious. And that's why I think I said on the post, but I said on the Facebook post, I was like, I'm gonna start tagging a lot of my stuff now. Once I start actually remembering where it's at, I'm gonna start pulling it up and tagging it. But I was like, you know what I mean? It'll be cool. It's cool to be friends with people, and that's what I'm saying. Even I look at my situation, like I don't do a lot of like, oh, my life is like this, oh, it's so, you know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily talk about myself a lot. That's why I just be focused on like the higher energy, vibrating higher, just working on bettering myself. So then once the chances that I'm manifesting come to play, you know, whenever they come about, I'm gonna be ready for it. And that's the only thing. I really want to just be ready for what's in store next. But dealing with God, bro, you don't really you don't really be knowing. You don't really be knowing what's coming next. You have no idea. So at that point, you just kind of gotta put your head down. Or keep your head up, work, and not worry about what the final outcome is gonna be. Detach yourself from the outcome. Yeah. I'm out.